Welcome friends to a full in-depth review of the 2024 Toyota 4Runner. I'm going to do my best to fill this video up with all the nuanced information that I've been able to learn about the 4Runner for the 5th generation. So hopefully this video will be a blessing and of value to you, and it won't end up like all the other generic 4Runner videos on YouTube right now. And this is also my personal vehicle. I just bought this 2024 4Runner. This is the SR5 Premium in 4x4, and I actually got this vehicle for $2,000 under invoice. So towards the end of the video, I will also share with you how I managed to do that. All right, let's get started and let's talk about really what's new for 2024 and also for 2023. Let's start there. In 23, all of the 4Runners came standard with blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert. That's great. That continues over for 2024, and we also get two new colors for the 24 model year. We have the underground that you see here, and the Terra color is a new bespoke color for the TRD Pro models. Both of them look fantastic in my personal opinion. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. The only other change is the price went up across the board, $300 for all the 2024 4Runners. That's it. Everything else stays the same. 10 years now, this body style has been in production. This came out in 2014. That's when they redesigned the 4Runners to look like this. Before the 2010 to 2013, that was also part of the 5th generation as well. Many people like to mock and scoff this for being old and it's, you know, a dinosaur and all these things. Surprisingly, the Nissan GT-R is actually older than this Toyota 4Runner. Those came out back in 08, 09. But before we get into the actual driving part of the review, I want to share with you some interesting facts and some nuanced information that I have gathered regarding this 4Runner. Obviously, these 5th generations, they're still produced in Tahara, Japan. And because this is essentially the final year of the 5th generation, you know this is going to be the most ironed out version of the 4Runner. That's another reason that captivated me to purchasing this vehicle. And about 5 years ago, a gentleman had put out a video regarding the Tahara, Japan factory, and they had a plaque at the factory saying that they produce 931 cars per day, and every 60 seconds a vehicle comes off of the assembly line. I just thought that was interesting. And at the time, these 4Runners were being produced alongside the Lexus GX 460 and the Land Cruisers. And in the video, the gentleman said that every Lexus would get test driven on a 4.4 kilometer kind of a track, if you will. But 1 out of every 5 Toyotas get test driven on the track. But regardless, every vehicle at that factory gets put through a very rigorous inspection. Some people say that's the reason why the Toyota and Lexus products from the Tahara plant come out to be such high quality vehicles. It's because of their really rigorous inspections that they do. And you can see evidence of that, like in the engine bay. They'll typically take some paint and they'll dab it in certain areas just to let you know that the vehicle has been checked over. There's another YouTuber by the name of Automotive Press, I believe. He's an engineer, and I think he claimed that he had a lot to do with the machinery and the components that put these 4Runners and all these Toyota Lexus vehicles together at the Tahara plant. I wonder if he has more videos talking in depth about that. I'm not sure, but regardless, he goes around the vehicles and he inspects the panel gaps and the paint quality. And every time he tests the 4Runner for panel gaps with this tool that he has, on the 4Runners, they seem to be around 3 millimeters. That's the gap of the panels for the 4Runner, like in the hood area, the doors, and 3 millimeters is like world-class build quality, according to Automotive Press. Regarding the paint quality for these 4Runners, it's good, but it's obviously not Lexus quality. I think they use some extra layers of paint on things like the GX 460. But the paint is usually over 100 microns on these 4Runners. He did say that over the years, they've been trying to cut down on the paint quality for the 4Runner. So for 2024 and maybe this underground color, this might be like the quote-unquote lowest quality paint job that you can get on a 4Runner, but whatever. It still looks good. Underground is my personal favorite color, so I'm still going to get it, and that's exactly what I have here. Yeah, overall, world-class quality in terms of the build. Other things to note: a lot of the Toyota accessories, apparently they are added in at the United States ports. So especially the TRD Pro 4Runner, that vehicle doesn't get shipped from Japan with all of the TRD wheels and the Fox suspension. All of that gets put on at the United States. When a TRD Pro comes off the boat and lands in the US, it comes with like these steel black wheels, almost like police type wheels. It doesn't have the roof racks, it doesn't have the Fox suspension. It's really crazy to see it. And all of that gets added on at the US port. I just thought that was interesting. Maybe some of you already knew this, but I didn't. There were some accessories that I wanted, and on the window sticker of my vehicle, I do have things like the TRD wheels being added and the rubber floor mats. Those are some of the important accessories that I wanted, along with these Trail Edition side steps. And I believe all of that got added in at the US port, and they also threw in a couple of extra accessories that aren't even on my window sticker, like the cargo net along with the Toyota first aid kit. They just threw that in the back of my trunk, so that's cool. Maybe they do that for every 4Runner at the US port, I'm not sure. All right, those were some of the interesting nuanced facts that I wanted to share with you. Let's go ahead and let's get into the drive now. All right, as we know, we have the legendary 4-liter naturally aspirated V6 with these 4Runners. If this is important to you, this is going to be your last opportunity to get that with the 4Runners. We have 270 horsepower, 278 pounds-feet of torque. Yes, we know how reliable this vehicle and this engine is. You know, it's like a cockroach. No matter how many times you try to spray it, it just simply won't die, right? But now, we know about the dependability, and we know how simple this engine is. I like the fact that this engine takes regular fuel. When you step up to the V8 powered GX 460, Lexus actually recommends using premium fuel with those. But here, you can just put the regular, and it's cool. The vehicle has made it to the 5-speed automatic transmission. Again, old school, everything works. But many like to mock and scoff. They like to say that the 4Runner is slow, it's lethargic, it gear hunts, it does all of these things. Honestly, this is not my first time testing the 4Runner. I did a review on this last year. It's one of the reasons why I decided to purchase this vehicle. I just fell in love with the SR5 Premium I drove last year. And the reality is, this is not that slow. This is more than adequate for street driving. What you have to understand is this is more than the sum of its specs, if that makes sense. You have to piece everything together. When you sit in it, when you drive it, it has like this heavy tank-like feeling when it's rolling down the road. And I love the way the engine sounds. It's got a fantastic growl to it. It's got character to it, and it sounds and feels powerful. So you add everything together, the vehicle feels so much better in person. Car and Driver tested this thing to do 0 to 60 in about 7.7 seconds. That's not bad, but it's the sensation that you get behind the wheel. And really, the only time that this vehicle feels truly slow or truly lethargic is when you initially tip into the throttle. When you try to drive this vehicle a little bit more civilized, it's not like a turbocharged engine. You don't get all the thrust up front. You have to be kind of mid-throttle with this vehicle. Like, you do have to rev it up to kind of 3,500 RPM. Then the thing starts to move very nicely. Now, obviously, out on the highway, it does have its limitations. This vehicle has a coefficient of drag of 0.36. but for regular highway driving, you're not going to be doing much more than 80 miles an hour anyway. And for that, this vehicle feels great. It gets up to that speed, no problem. But due to the high coefficient of drag, it doesn't really like to go much beyond 80 miles an hour, and that's fine. This is a vehicle where you don't need to drive it at high speeds all the time to feel alive. This vehicle feels fun to drive even at slower speeds, and that's what makes the 4Runner special. You don't need to be foot to the floor. You don't have to be overly aggressive with it. That's fun too, but you can also just chill in this, and it's got a great vibe. It's got a satisfactory driving experience for your everyday commute. And that is precisely what I wanted. The only other limitation out on the highway is going to be the fuel economy. Okay, this is rated to get 16 in the city, 19 on the highway. A lot of people like to say how garbage the fuel economy is. Well, to be honest, in the city, the fuel economy isn't that horrible. Most of the 3-row SUV turds like your Pathfinders, your Palisades, your Mazda CX-9s, even your CX-90s, they're all going to get around 18 in the city. This gets 16. Not a big deal. But on the highway though, this is limited to 19 highway, and that's not so great. That's where the generic SUVs have an advantage. They'll do like, 23, 25 out on the highway. But again, small price to pay for such a well-packaged machine that feels great out on the road, has soul, has character. Someone asked me to define what the soul and the character meant. I can't really define it. It's just something that you either get or you don't. Okay, you just have to understand that your generic appliances like your RAV4s, your CRVs, and your Mazda CX-5s, they just feel boring, and there's no emotion, there's no attachment to those cars. Whereas this, with the engine notes and with the seating position, the way the steering wheel feels, this hydraulic steering rack, it's got a unique precision to it. All of it just makes it feel special, and all of that adds together to give you a satisfactory experience doing everyday speeds, your 35 mile per hour, 50 mile per hour commutes. It's very satisfying. That's all I can say. Moving on from that, what about things like ride quality? Well, I chose the SR5 Premium with the 17-inch TRD off-road wheels because I like the smaller wheels. I think that helps with the ride. It soaks up the larger bumps extremely well. You might get some of the small bumps coming through, and that's mainly due to its truck chassis, and that's fine. This is by no means uncomfortable. Braking performance is good and predictable. Keep in mind, when you go with the 4x4, it adds about 275 pounds to the curb weight of these 4Runners. But yeah, I heard that the TRD off-road wheels that you see here, these are about 25 pounds. Someone on the forum had mentioned the 17-inch Snowflake wheels weigh about 28 or 29 pounds. So if there is a true weight savings going with these TRD Pro SEMA wheels, great, because that's also going to help with the ride quality and the handling as well. Also, I have here the Bridgestone Dueler HT tires. I feel like this is the best OEM tire for this vehicle. It is so quiet, so smooth. I have plenty of grip both in the dry and the wet. It's just a great street tire. I know a lot of people like the big chunky all-terrain tires. I was going to purchase a set of all-terrains, specifically the Continental Terrain Contact ATs. The reason why I wanted those tires was because out of all the research I did, those Continentals have the best wet performance. Okay, they don't hydroplane like other all-terrain tires, and the wet braking distance seems to be better with the terrain contacts from Continental. And there's one video on YouTube from Speed Academy. They are the only ones on YouTube that has showcased the 4Runner with those tires, and it looked good. Because I will say, in the pictures and in video, these Bridgestones look really lame on the 4Runner. That's the main reason why I wanted to change it. I was sad because I know that these are great tires, they perform really well, but after seeing this vehicle in person, these tires look absolutely fine. So I'm not going to change it, but if you are interested in swapping your tires, know that places like Discount Tire will give you a trade-in credit for your tire. Not every discount tire will do that for you. You have to call in advance, but usually they will pay you like $100 or $200 if you have like new tires that you want to swap for something that they sell. All right, moving on to the actual handling of this SUV. Another place where the mainstream media tends to really look down upon the 4Runner for. I really don't understand why that is, because here I have the SR5 Premium, which should be the worst handling 4Runner, and this performs so well. The body control is truly excellent. There's no crazy body roll with this. Nobody's flipping or flopping on top of each other when you take your everyday corners. Obviously, I'm not saying that this is a Porsche GT3. A lot of people get that, get my words confused. When I mention that the handling is great, I mean your everyday handling is excellent. See, it just remains planted when you bust your everyday maneuvers. Gets up to the speed limit effortlessly. I mean, everything you need for this street, it's doing so well. I never understood all the scrutiny that this car gets, especially from, well-respected reviewers. Like, I can't believe like how much they missed the point with this vehicle. It hits way above all of its criticisms. So it rides great. It's not, jostling people around like crazy. Nobody's getting car sick in this. Nobody's flipping over on top of themselves. The speed is more than adequate for everyday driving. And most importantly, it has character, and it's fun to drive on an everyday basis. It's also really easy to drive too. This vehicle is 190 inches long total, so it's easy to fit inside of a garage, parking space, no problem. Busting U-turns in this, that's not an issue. It's easy to keep it in its lane, no problems. So what is the problem? What is the drawback of the 4Runner? It seems to be doing everything so well. Okay, I will quickly go through a list of cons for you that I have managed to find. This vehicle does not do well in crash tests. Most of the old school Toyota products don't, like the old Tacomas, the Tundras, right? Like the previous generation. It's not great. Now, the funny part is in 2013, right, that kind of older body style of the 5th generation, that vehicle was an IIHS top safety pick. But in 2014, when this body style came out, it's no longer an IIHS top safety pick. Why? That's mainly because they've gotten really strict with their testing. They have increased the speed of their tests. Like the weight of that kind of vehicle that comes and hits the cars from the side, they've increased the weight of that over the years. And yeah, it's really tough. It's really strict. Today, this 4Runner would just fall apart. So that's the main disadvantage of them not upgrading the structure of these 4Runners over the last 14 years. Because when they redesigned this vehicle in 2014, IIHS, they confirmed that the side structure had not changed from 2013 to 2014. They didn't comment about the front or the rear, but regardless, this just does not hold a candle to new vehicles like, an Acura NDX or a BMW X3, something like that. Those are some of the safest cars that you can get today, along with like the Mazda CX-90. That also did really well in the latest new crash tests. But honestly, I don't feel too bad about putting a family in this, because at least in 2010, this was a top safety pick. This is obviously going to be way better than a Jeep Wrangler. That thing like flips over in a crash test. This is better than that. And it doesn't have the other compromises of a Jeep either, like it tracks straight out on the highway. That's another thing. I will mention this real quick. The 4Runner, when I initially took delivery of it, it had a PSI on the tires of 38. So the tire pressure was, around 38. And I did a test drive real quick out on the highway. I noticed that the vehicle was wandering a little bit, all right? I did fix it, and it was really easy to do. All I did was air it down to 32, because that's what Toyota suggests. Okay, they specified that the tire pressure should be 32 cold. So I appreciate them mentioning that it should be a cold tire pressure rating of 32. Once I did that, the wandering on the highway has completely disappeared. Both at slow speeds and at high speeds, this vehicle tracks straight, no problems. So when you take delivery of your new 4Runner, make sure to check the tire pressure. On the forums, a lot of people, they did complain about instability or wandering at the highway speeds. You know, they were going crazy. They were doing alignments, and they were trying to go for a positive caster of 3.5 to 4, you know, within that range. And, you know, when they got the vehicle aligned and they hit that caster number up, apparently the vehicle did become stable for them, but really, family, you don't have to do all of that. All I had to do was air down the vehicle. All right. Now, other cons, the 4Runner does not react too well to lifting, like especially in the front. It seems kind of difficult to do. It seems to add some issues to the way the 4Runner feels and drives when you do lift this vehicle. And also when you put kind of wider tires on it, you can run into some rubbing issues. But obviously, this vehicle is so old, a lot of people, they have managed to figure out ways to, you know, get around those hurdles and those setbacks. So if you wanted to lift it, if you want to put the big chunky tires on it, you can. You just need to be aware and do some extra research when it comes to lifting and all that. Honestly, in my opinion, this vehicle comes perfect from the factory. And if you want to do all those things, consider just getting a TRD Pro. It comes with a 1-inch lift on it already, and it's truly ready to go for off-roading, while keeping your warranty intact and not having to come out of pocket for any of the modifications. So it's just something to think about. Again, I'm taking this long sweeping corner here. This 4Runner sticking to the road. It's nice and planted. But yeah, other issues that I managed to find with the 4Runner, well, this has more to do with the running boards. I have the Trail Edition running boards here. It's about $5.99, I think, as an accessory from Toyota, and I like it. It looks good. It's way better and way more practical than the Predator steps. I do like the Predator steps regarding the way they look, but it's not the best to use. I feel like running boards are crucial if you have kids. And the Predator steps, in my opinion, I don't think it would provide a child good stability when they're using to step on it and to get inside the vehicle. I like this flat running board design. I think it's going to be more stable for people to use. So that's cool, but every time you get out of this vehicle, your pants kind of rub up against the running boards if you're not careful. So it could make your pants a little dirty. It's not a big deal. I just thought I would mention it. Other things, people might think that the 4Runner is noisy or unrefined. It's not really bad at all. In fact, even out on the highway, there's no crazy like wind noise or wind buffeting or anything. You just get a subtle noise, right? It's like a white noise. It's not annoying in any way. It's decently refined, and these Bridgestone tires also help in reducing your tire noise. I remember I tested the 4Runner with the Nitto Grappler G2 tires. I do not like those tires. They're one of the worst performing all-terrain tires as well. They look good on the 4Runner, but their performance is not the best. Those tires tend to be a little loud. So yeah, a lot of it depends on your tire setup, but regarding wind noise, it's really not bad at all. But you could technically argue, yes, this is going to be a little bit louder than your typical boring CUV type vehicle. And I guess this is maybe slightly more difficult to step inside of than a regular CUV. The ground clearance on the 4x4s, it's 9.6 inches. The regular rear-wheel drive 4Runners has a ground clearance of 9 inches. I'm not sure exactly how well the ground clearance translates into step-in height. I don't know the exact correlation between the two, but whatever, I just thought I would throw that in there. It's not difficult for me to get in and out of this. I'm 5'11". I just step into this vehicle and it's not a problem for me. I've had other people in here, you know, like 5'2", they're able to get in here without using the side step either. So finally, the other con I want to mention, this is actually something you should fix yourself when you take delivery of the vehicle. depending on where you live, and that's going to be the rust. So these vehicles can rot out, especially if you live in the rust belt, right? Yeah, if you like live in the Northeast or something and they're throwing salt all over the road, yeah, you should pay about $600 to $700 to get this vehicle coated underneath. That's definitely a worthwhile investment. You should also coat the inside of the frame as well, because the vehicle can also rot from the inside. So make sure you coat not only the outside frame, but also inside of the frame. And again, this procedure should be about $600 to $700. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I can think of off the top of my head. In the next few segments, I'll go over the interior, the features, some of the trim levels and my opinions on them. And of course, I will talk about the savings that I got on this vehicle as well. Then we can conclude. Okay, now that we are stopped, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior space. This is another area of the vehicle that made me just fall in love with it, because the build quality in here, when you sit in it, when you close the doors, you feel how solid and well built everything is. Man, it's just a totally different vibe and a totally different feeling compared to a lot of the modern cars that I'm able to test. They feel so flimsy, so plasticky. Yes, everything here is, the kind of plastic durable type materials, but it's the way everything is put together in here. And there's no glossy black finishes on here. We have this kind of matte silver material, and I always say this in my car reviews. Why don't more manufacturers use this plastic matte aluminum color for the interior rather than that piano black plastic? It makes no sense. This does not smudge, it doesn't show any imperfections, it doesn't get scratched up. I love that. And yeah, you can literally like punch this interior, take a hammer to it, like nothing is gonna break in here. So I love that utility type approach. All these massive knobs and buttons, they're easy to press, easy to use. I think I saw this on the Car Care Nut channel. He was talking about the HVAC system in here. It's like a really old school system where like a regular mechanic's OBD2 port reader can't just fix and diagnose this HVAC. You have to take like a more old school approach if you want to diagnose this HVAC. But the thing is, because it's so simple, nothing is going to break with the HVAC unit. And as we all know, HVAC issues cost a lot of money with new vehicles. So it's nice to know that this is simple, easy to use, and not prone to failure. Other things, we don't have like double pane glass or super thick glass, but even still, this is not a overly loud cabin. Yes, it's slightly louder than, your traditional CUVs, but it's not bad for what it is and for its higher ride height. But we do have one-touch automatic windows for all four windows. This is the SR5 Premium. We do have things like automatic high beams, but we don't have automatic headlights. But there is a fix for that. If you just leave the headlights on all the time, it's basically like having auto headlights, if that makes sense. Because when you turn the vehicle off, the headlights will also turn off if you lock the vehicle twice. So when you start it back up, the headlights are on. So it's like you always have automatic headlights if you just always leave the headlights on. Just thought that was funny. We do have a traditional gear shifter here, and you can also put it into a quote-unquote sport mode if you want, and you can manually shift this. There's no paddle shifters, but you can shift it right here at the bottom, so that's cool. I personally don't notice this thing, gear hunting as much as people say. Maybe if you're towing something, then it could start gear hunting more. And the towing rating on this, it's about 5,000 pounds. That's not that great for a body-on-frame SUV like this, but it is what it is. Freaking Nissan Pathfinder with the premium package, that can tow 6,000 pounds. But yeah, the 4x4 controls, when you go with like the SR5 models, and I'm assuming the limiteds, you have this knob that you can kind of just twist. But if you go with the TRD Off-Road or the TRD Pro, they will come with a physical, like a shifter, if you will, to engage your 4x4 high and your 4x4 low. We have this basic Toyota infotainment screen here, but I'm not sure why people complain that everything is so outdated. I mean, this thing works perfectly fine. It is so quick to respond. It doesn't glitch up on me. It's intuitive, easy to use. I know where everything is. The only real con is I have to plug in my phone to utilize Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. There's no wireless setup here, but outside of that, not a big deal. The only other thing is there's no comfortable place to place my smartphone. So these front cubbies are pretty useless, and this center tray is okay, but yeah, there's not really an ideal place. This is an SR5 Premium, but this also has the Premium Plus package on it. I believe that's $600, and that will give you the 360 camera with the 4Runner. It's a really low quality camera setup, but hey, it works. It is nice having that 360 camera in this. It's mainly for off-road use, but you know, normal people, we're just going to use it as a 360 cam, right? So that's something worth looking into, looking out for that Premium Plus package. I also have the sunroof here, which I did not want. I did not care about that. That was $630. This vehicle just happened to come with it. Also, according to Automotive Press, the engineer, he said that this headlining material is one of the most like highest quality Toyota headlining materials that you can get. It just feels like, you know, like regular cardboard to me. It doesn't feel that special, but apparently this is like really thick. It doesn't creak or rattle. In fact, over time, as the vehicle ages and you put a lot of miles on it, the 4Runners don't really creak or rattle due to the high quality build of these. Everything feels super tight and super secure. So the new Toyota vehicles, they use a much thinner headlining material. But up top, you have your traction control off, you have your A-track, you have your hill descent control, you have your garage home link with the SR5 Premium. So that's the other reason I decided to go with the SR5 Premium. It comes with everything I need and nothing that I don't. So I mainly wanted the heated seats, the heated steering wheel, that comes with the Premium, and the garage door home link, that's great. And getting that 360 camera, that was also awesome. But I'm loving the leather wrapped steering wheel. That feels great to the hand. And we have some safety controls here, which you can also access with the digital gauge cluster, if you will. Well, I'm sorry, not a digital gauge cluster, but there's a small screen in the middle, and you can navigate, go through that. It shows you your tire pressure, fuel economy, and you can access some of your features like your safety tech. So you can manipulate like how sensitive you want some of these safety tech features to be. But yeah, I appreciate them adding the standard blind spot monitoring and standard rear cross traffic alert back in 2023. But you also have your forward collision assist and like your lane departure warnings. So I like the steering wheel, and I love the Softex seats. That was something else I really wanted, and another reason why I wanted to step up to the premium SR5 models. The regular SR5 comes with cloth seats. These Softex seats are very comfortable. You also get driver's side lumbar support. The passenger seat is electric, but there is no lumbar, and you can't move the seat up and down for the passenger. You can only do that with the driver's side. And when you go with the SR5 Premium, you are able to get a tan or a beige interior. I do love that, but I have here the black interior, and with the SR5 Premium, you get this light gray insert, so it's not a complete black seat. So in the summertime, you know, I'm guessing this seat won't get as hot. When you step up to the TRD off-roads, you will get a full black seat. That's just, you know, personal preference. You just have a little bit more options and more variety with the SR5 Premium. Anyway, these Softex seats, they should last. People put, you know, hundreds of thousands of miles into these vehicles, and these seats still end up looking brand new. It's another reason why I like it. And they're also easy to clean, and they don't wrinkle and they don't look all nasty with time. The glove box is a decent size. You can put large bottles in the door pockets. Center armrest, that's also a great size as well, very practical. And as an option, you can get like a safe for the center armrest. I obviously don't have that here, but if you want it, that's something you can look out for. We don't have the JBL audio system in here. We have the 8-speaker audio system, which is an upgrade from the regular SR5s. But regardless, this 8-speaker unit, it doesn't sound that great. It has a more tinny sound to the music. I mean, I've heard worse. This does at least get the job done. It gets the point across, but if you love your music, yeah, this system is not the best. I tried the JBL in the Tacoma TRD Pro. That was trash as well. So if you love your music, yeah, the 4Runner, the Tacomas, the previous generation at least, not the best for that. You would have to modify this vehicle. And if you are going to modify the speakers in here, you might as well add some sound deadening materials. I know a lot of people on YouTube, they did do that, and that also helped to enhance the music quality. So if you're going to swap out the speakers anyway, might want to add some sound deadening materials to the door and in the trunk area, I guess. Although if you want to see a true improvement in the refinement, adding sound deadening materials under the hood, in the roof, in the floor, and yeah, the door is good too. These are the best areas for that, but I don't know how that's going to affect your warranty down the line or anything like that. Seating position is pretty good. Maybe if you're super tall, you might have some issues, but normal sized people, it's fine. And super tall people, they will have headroom and legroom. It's just that due to the position of the steering wheel, it might be difficult for you to see the gauges, but you know, whatever. Not a big deal. Anyway, the rear seats, plenty of space back there. I can fit behind myself. I can really stretch out. It's a nice, comfortable package. You do have some vents back there as well. You have a center armrest with 2 cup holders in the back. The Softex seats continue to be comfortable back there. And with the SR5 Premium and the Limited, you are able to get 3rd row seats as an option. I don't have that here, and it's not really that useful. It's really best for kids. But if you wanted this to be a 3-row SUV, you can do that. You can get the 3rd row as an option. It does cost, you know, a couple $1,000s, but yeah, it's there if you need it. And you can just fold that down when you're not using it and continue to enjoy that massive trunk. So with the rear liftgate, no matter which trim level of the 4Runner you choose, you will not get an electronic liftgate in the back. It's always going to be like manual. You have to lift it up yourself. It's fine. It's not a big deal. It's simple. And everyone's favorite feature is going to be the roll down window. You can do it from the outside, and you also have a switch in the center console, so you can roll that down. That's very practical. It's great if you have pets in the back and you want some air, or if you're, you know, hanging out some lumber. It's really practical to have that rear sliding glass. That might go away for the 2025 4Runners. Anyway, in this next segment, let's quickly run through the various trim levels, and I will give you my thoughts on them. Okay, let's quickly go over the trim level. So you have the basic SR5 with the cloth seats. You can get that with rear wheel drive or 4x4. Obviously, I recommend going with the 4x4 for resale value purposes, and that's really, you know, the best way to get a 4Runner, right? SR5 is okay if you just want a bare bones 4Runner, and maybe you're going to decide to modify it and you just want the lowest buy-in price. It's cool, but for most people, I would recommend stepping up to the SR5 Premium to get the Softex seats. They're very comfortable, as I already mentioned, and you get some niceties like the heated front seats, the heated steering wheel, the garage door home link, and the 8-speaker audio system. I'm sure it's going to be better than the base model version, right? And yeah, I chose this because I wanted the simplest 4Runner possible with the few basic features that I wanted / needed. I wanted the 17-inch TRD SEMA wheels. That was the only other thing I wanted. But for most people, I also do recommend going with the TRD Off-Road Premium. I do like that model. You get your crawl control, your multi-terrain select, your locking rear diff. All of that is great for true off-roading. And most importantly, you can option in the TRD Off-Roads with KDSS. That suspension system is no joke. It actually does help the 4Runner to handle even better than what I have here. And I already told you during the drive, this SR5 Premium handles great. Well, you can improve it even more by getting the KDSS. It helps on the road, and off-road you get better articulation. So yes, I do recommend the TRD Off-Road for serious off-roading people, but MSRP wise, that would have been $3 to $4 grand more than what you're seeing here. This is a $50,000 vehicle, and I happen to get it for $45,500, which is about $2 grand below invoice. And I will talk more about that in the next segment. But yes, TRD off-road, that is worth it. Then you have your Limited, which is going to come with the 20-inch wheels with 245 wide tires. When you go with the 17-inch setup, you do get 265 wide tires. The wheel width is 7 inches with these TRD Pro wheels and the Snowflake wheels. The TRD off-roads, they come with a 7.5-inch wide rim, so you could technically put wider tires on it a little bit easier, just something to note. But yeah, the Limited and the TRD Sport, they're both going to come with 20-inch wheels. TRD Sports are pretty rare. I don't think I've ever even seen one on the road, to be honest with you, so yeah, they're pretty difficult to come by. The Limited is another great choice if you're just going to be daily driving it. It comes with that X-REAS suspension. It's different from KDSS, but Toyota claims that it helps to improve the ride quality and also the handling. So even though it comes with 20-inch wheels, maybe the X-REAS suspension can mitigate the rougher ride from the larger wheels. But yeah, one of the things I like about the Limited is it comes with a lot more features. They say that it comes with real leather. Some people say that it feels like vinyl or whatever, especially on the bolsters, but whatever. Toyota claims that it's perforated leather. That's all they have to say regarding it, but you can get it in the beige color. There's like a redwood, kind of like a brownish leather color, and then there's black. So the Limited is cool. Obviously it costs more money, but there are big discounts with the Limited, and you can get the third row seating if you want with the Limiteds. Finally, you have the TRD Pro at the top. There are no discounts on those. You have to pay MSRP, but it's a great model to go with if you know you're going to be off-roading the 4Runner and you know you're going to modify it. Well, you can actually just save money, buy the TRD Pro, not have to modify it. You can retain your factory warranty. It looks great, and also it's going to have high resale value. So instead of you buying a base model 4Runner and modifying it and potentially, not getting any resale value gains, you can just naturally get the TRD Pro and it will hold its value, retain its warranty, etc. Plus it comes with a TRD exhaust system. I heard it on the Tacoma. It didn't really sound that crazy to me. So if you have a regular 4Runner, I don't really recommend you paying $1,000 to buy that exhaust system. I just don't think it's necessary, but the TRD Pros naturally come with it, and you can also get it with that new Terra color as well for 2024. When I drove the Tacoma TRD Pro for 2023, that was comfortable. The Fox suspension had rode nice out on the road. It wasn't super wallowy or anything. So yeah, I liked it. And I'm sure the 4Runner TRD Pro should be good as well. Anyway, out of all of these trim levels, I recommend SR5 Premium, TRD Off-Road Premium, and the Limited, and get the TRD Pro if you're a serious off-roader. It's going to be close to 60 grand, but overall you could see a savings buying the TRD Pro over just modifying the vehicle yourself. All right, now the part that everyone's been waiting for. How can you get these vehicles below invoice pricing? Let's talk about that next. All right, as I mentioned at the beginning of this very long review, I got this vehicle for $2,000 under invoice. How I did it is by using a broker named Jim. Jim is essentially the largest Toyota broker in the entire United States. He offers the best Toyota pricing, hands down. I've used his service twice now. This is the second vehicle I've purchased, and his partner dealerships are offering these 4Runners below invoice. Technically, a Toyota dealership is not allowed to do that. They can actually be hit with major fines for advertising new Toyotas below invoice. They actually brought that rule in back in 2015. They were following behind what Honda did back then. Honda and Toyota, they will penalize dealerships for advertising below invoice price. That started back in 2015. So the only way they can advertise this type of pricing is through brokers. And now that started to make sense to me. The reason why I can never replicate these great deals with my local dealerships is because Toyota dealers, they're not technically allowed to advertise such deals. And also local dealerships, they know that people are going to stop by locally and they're going to buy their overpriced products regardless, right? Like that's the thing in my local area. Even if they advertise $2,000 off of MSRP, they typically add back in $2,000 worth of shenanigan fees, like your tint, your nitrogen fees, your Toyota Platinum Care package, and your fast charging cable fees. I mean, they throw like $2,000 worth of trash in there, and then they take $2,000 off and they act like they did you some type of favor, when in reality you're just paying MSRP for the vehicle. But the thing is, some guy locally will actually stop by and just buy it anyway. So it's impossible for me to get a good local deal, so I have to utilize Jim. Most of his dealerships, they're located in the Pennsylvania area. However, he has got some more dealerships that he's working with primarily in the West Coast, so that can definitely help out some potential West Coast shoppers. But the below invoice pricing is not the only reason why I wanted to use Jim. There's another big reason for using Jim the broker, especially for clients like me located in the Southeast. So states like North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, all of these states utilize a banking system called Southeast Toyota Financial. That is totally different from Toyota Financial Services. I actually leased this vehicle, and the interest rate on this lease was like 1.9%. That was only possible because I used Jim and I went through Toyota Financial Services. So technically, like, my monthly payment on this vehicle is like under $500 a month, even with Jim's broker fee and shipping fees. I'm still under $500 a month. Oh, and also including my local taxes and dealer fees and all that good stuff. Southeast Toyota Financial, the interest rate would have been like 5.5%. So I saved over 3% in interest. Going with Jim, I got below invoice pricing, and there's so much more flexibility with Toyota Financial Services. Like if you lease through TFS, you can actually trade in the vehicle anytime you want when you're leasing with them. I don't have to keep the vehicle for the entirety of 3 years. Unlike with Southeast Toyota Financial, there is no flexibility, but you don't have to lease the vehicle to get Jim's discounts. You can finance the vehicle, you can pay cash, and you'll still get the same excellent discounts. But why is Jim's dealership offering below invoice pricing or losing money with these 4Runners? Well, the reason that they are doing this is because they want Land Cruiser allocations. That's the main reason why. They're selling these vehicles to us at a loss, so then they can make up the money and make more profits off of the Land Cruisers. You know, the high volume dealerships, they're the ones that get the allocation for the latest and the greatest, you know, like your Land Cruisers, your TRD Pros, you know, your GR Corollas, your Supras. If they want all those specialty vehicles where they can make money on those, they have to get rid of things like these 4Runners. They're really trying their best to clear these things out, especially the limited models. There's like $6,000 off of MSRP on the limiteds right now. Also, certain trim levels of the Tundras, Jim is offering like $10,000 off of MSRP on Platinum Tundras, $5,000 off MSRP for the Sequoias. Yeah, these deals are definitely no joke. I mean, most dealerships in the country, they're still charging over MSRP for this stuff. Yeah, these are substantial discounts. But of course, the TRD Pro products, they're going to be sold at MSRP. There are no discounts on TRD Pros. But yeah, a lot of benefits working with Jim. I'm really happy that the 4Runner leases were affordable. Not every Toyota leases out this well. Most Toyotas, you're better off financing or just simply paying cash if you're able to. But in order to make the 4Runner leases even more affordable, you have to do things like one-pay leases or put down multiple security deposits, which is a refundable deposit that you get back at the end of your lease. or whenever you decide to trade the vehicle in. So although you can finance or pay cash, I just like the flexibility of leasing. It's also really good if your vehicle unfortunately happens to get into an accident or it gets totaled. There's way less risk for you, the consumer who is leasing, because obviously when you have an accident on your Carfax, the vehicle is worth less money. You don't have to be stuck with the vehicle that's worth less money. You can just turn it back in at the end of the lease. So you have that set residual value that's always protecting you, that you simply don't get with traditional finance. It's protecting you in the case of an accident. You know, God forbid that ever happens, but I'm just, trying to throw that out there. And I bought a 4Runner because I wanted to potentially purchase this vehicle at the end of the lease, because this is one of the few vehicles that's really built with serious quality. It lasts the test of time. It's not problematic, very reliable. It's one of the few cars you can own after the warranty expires. So I wanted that flexibility. If I wanted to own it at the end, I can, or if there ends up being positive equity at the end of the lease because the new 4Runner comes out and nobody ends up liking the turbo 4-cylinder models, and these vehicles happen to go up in value, which has happened with the 2021 Tundra and the 2023 Tacomas. They all kind of went up in value when the new vehicles came out. The same could happen with the 4Runners. I could cash in on the positive equity if I wanted to, and there's like $5,000 worth of positive equity, for example, my lease would end up being like effectively $300 a month for 3 years, if you wanted to look at it that way. So much flexibility with leasing, but you can absolutely finance or pay cash. You can find more of Jim's information on the Leasehackr forum. He basically just has a phone number. You can just text him. He's a really cool guy. He said that if anyone comes to him and mentions Meyn Motor Group, my YouTube channel, he will take $100 off of his broker fee. So if you contact him, you mention Meyn Motor Group, you get $100 off his fee. He also has great shipping connects. They pretty much ship like supercars as well, so they're high quality, top tier shipping companies. I was able to get this vehicle shipped to me from Pennsylvania to North Carolina for like $600, and they were quick too. Like the whole thing happened extremely quickly. The dealership, they were also great to work with. They ship you the paperwork with FedEx one-day shipping, and then you just ship the paperwork right back to them. That process is also smooth and very quick, no problems. And as I mentioned, if you're on the West Coast, he's got some dealerships that he's working with there as well. But yeah, Jim is no joke, top tier, great guy as well, and best Toyota deals in the country, hands down. And yeah, that's my full detailed look at this 2024 4Runner. Hopefully you appreciate this knowledge and this information that I've been able to gather for you. Hopefully it's not like every other generic 4Runner video out there. If you learned something, if you appreciate the resources and the insights, consider liking and subscribing. If you decide to work with Jim, let me know in the comment section how that goes. And if you take delivery of your vehicle, let me know what you end up getting and how the process went for you. But yeah, I'm in love with the 4Runner. It's one of the few cars that you can really trust nowadays, right? There's no crazy recalls on this. Everything just works. Everything feels solid. It's simple enough for even a guy like me to work on. I could just look up some DIY videos on YouTube and even I can swap out a few basic things. And I will leave you with one other thing. If you go with the 4x4 models like what I have here, make sure once a month you put the vehicle into 4-wheel drive, 4 low or 4 high, whatever the case is. Just put it into that once a month, drive around in it for a little bit, maybe around your neighborhood. If you don't do that, it could cause some issues in the long term. So just remember to do that. That's the only other thing. But otherwise, this is a pretty bulletproof vehicle. I'm really pleased with it. They sold almost over 1 million of these things in the United States over the 10-year life cycle. Almost nobody's really had any crazy issues. It is literally one of the few vehicles you can trust. It does almost everything. It's practical, it's durable, plenty of space inside. I love driving it. And yeah, I would love to hear from owners as well. Let me know how the vehicle has been holding up for you. Let me know how you like it. But thank you so much for watching. Take care and goodbye.